Russia declares that ammunition exploded at the airbase, Ukrainians talk about an attack by their own means, although unofficially. However, the remoteness of the Russian base from the front line is surprising. Therefore, there is an assumption that American ATACMS missiles are responsible for the destruction in Crimea. The ATACMS, Army Tactical Missile System, is a short-range ballistic missile that is launched from the M270 MLRS and/or HIMARS artillery systems. It provides an offensive capability that exceeds the range of modern howitzers and missile systems. Each M270 MLRS artillery system can accommodate up to 2 Army ATACMS missiles instead of 12 227mm missiles, while HIMARS can only carry 1 ATACMS missile instead of 6 227 caliber missiles. ATACMS is especially well suited for attacking targets located at a distance. The ATACMS ballistic missile was first used in 1991 in Kuwait and Iraq during the Persian Gulf War. The U.S. military places great trust in a family of tactical missiles that deliver long-range precision strikes against a wide range of targets. This U.S. short-range ballistic missile system is the only weapon of its type still in service with the U.S. military. It received the designation M39 from the U.S. Army and its DoD designation MGM-140. These weapons complement the U.S. Army's reactive artillery systems, effectively bridging the gap between the artillery systems used by ground forces and the aviation and cruise missiles used by the Air Force and Navy. The history of ATACMS. For the first time, the possibility of developing an Army tactical missile complex was discussed in the Pentagon back in 1980 due to the need to control the ballistic missiles of the USSR. In 1982, the JTACMS, Joint Tactical Missile System, program was created, in which the Ministry of Defense combined two similar programs of the U.S. Army and the U.S. Air Force. That is, it was decided to develop a joint missile complex for both the Army and the U.S. Air Force. But in 1985, the USAF withdrew from the JTACMS project, choosing to focus on developing new types of weapons for its aircraft. The project soon became an Army project and was renamed ATACMS. LTV Aerospace won the tender and in May 1986 was awarded the contract to develop and manufacture the ATACMS system. The first flight of the XMGM-140A missile took place in 1988, and initial production began later that year. After additional tests and refinements, ATACMS, namely the MGM-140 modification, officially entered service with the U.S. Army in January 1991. The Lockheed Martin Company worked on it, which continues to modernize these powerful munitions. ATACMS was adopted just in time, as the U.S. Army was on the brink of war with Iraq. During Operation Desert Storm, 32 MGM-140 missiles were launched. This weapon was used much more intensively in Operation Iraqi Freedom, during which more than 450 munitions were launched. To date, more than 560 ATACMS have been launched during hostilities. More details about ATACMS. There is no specific launch platform for ATACMS. The Army's tactical missile complex is launched from the M270 MLRS, or the well-known M142 HIMARS, in which the more familiar 227mm 6 missile rocket launcher is replaced by a single MGM-140 missile launcher. That is, the M270 MLRS can carry 1 ATACMS missile and 6 227mm missiles, or 2 ATACMS missiles, while the HIMARS launcher only has enough room for a 6-munition 227mm missile launcher or 1 ATACMS. The original MGM-140A ATACMS model used INS for guidance, while later models also used GPS to improve their accuracy. These guidance systems are known to give the missile a circular error probable (CEP) of between 10 meters and 50 meters, depending on the model and mission fire circumstances. However, the overall accuracy of the ATACMS is much more difficult to judge because the CEP measures only the densest group of half the rounds fired during testing and does not take into account the location of the point of aim, the location of the target, or the entire area that the projectiles hit. However, this is not a concern, and combat reports suggest that the MGM-168A is reasonably accurate. Three different types of warheads are used on operational models of the ATACMS. The MGM-140A contains 950 M74 APAM, anti-personnel anti-material, submunitions, which are dispersed in the air during the last stage of the final phase of the missile's flight. Depending on how far from the target the missile is set to release its submunitions, they can potentially cover an area of up to 33,000 square meters, with each submunition having a strike radius of 15 meters. The MGM-140B scatters the same M74 submunitions, but about a quarter less. The MGM-168A has a large unitary warhead designed to significantly increase damage to point targets while minimizing collateral damage. All three of these warheads are most effective when used against unarmored targets. All ATACMS models are powered by solid-fuel rocket engines, with different effective ranges for the three operational models. The original MGM-140A model has the shortest range with an effective range of 128 kilometers. Reduced warhead weight in the MGM-140B resulted in an improved range of up to 165 kilometers, while the newer MGM-168A has a range of up to 300 kilometers. A powerful munition to replace the ATACMS. While Ukraine is waiting for a decision on the transfer of long-range ATACMS missiles for the HIMARS and M270 multiple launch systems, the US is actively working on the creation of a more powerful precision strike missile, PRSM. This became known quite recently. It is known that the new generation rocket will be cheaper and at the same time much more efficient. And the target hitting range will reach 650 kilometers. PRSM is designed to strike enemy air defenses, missile launchers, command centers, troop concentration areas, and especially important targets on the battlefield. The multi-mode homing warhead will be able to destroy moving sea targets, for example, Russian ships in the Black Sea. A representative of the US Army said that the PRSM prototype had already demonstrated the ability to fly far beyond the limit of 400 kilometers. When asked about the cost, he answered that the new generation rocket is cheaper than the previous model. The warhead is an optimized unitary designed to achieve the same effects as the ATACMS. Future upgrades to the precision strike missile will include capabilities to engage moving land and sea targets, increased lethality payloads capable of autonomously detecting, targeting, and engaging moving, displaced, or dispersed targets, and the ability to increase range through air jet engine, the US military said in a statement.